Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the playlist for the notes for Chapter 1 in your McGraw Hill Geometry Textbook. This is the first unit of the school year, and we will cover most of this unit. We will not cover Section 1-3. This playlist will cover the exact same lessons and the exact same notes as what we do in class. The idea being that if you happen to miss class, you could still watch this video and learn the material. So Chapter 1 starts with the section on points, lines, and planes. These are our three undefined terms, but they're all based on an undefined term called space. I try to give these words definitions that are understandable, that are relatable, but these are not official definitions, so these will not be considered vocabulary words. Space, I like to define as a boundless set, three-dimensional set, of all points, which means we're looking at infinite length, width, and depth. Now, within space, we have three other undefined terms that we use in geometry. They are points, which are zero-dimensional. They do not have length, they do not have width. Lines, which are one-dimensional. Meaning that they have length, but no width. And planes. Planes are two-dimensional. Excuse my pen, it gets a little iffy down here at the bottom of the screen. Clean that up real quick. Two-dimensional. They have both infinite length and infinite width. Those are the two dimensions that a plane has. So we're going to talk about each one of these in a little bit more detail, starting with points. I'll try to define a point as a location in space. Now that's not a great definition, and that's part of the reason why these are undefined terms, because there really are not great definitions for them. Keep in mind that a point has no length and no width at all whatsoever. It's also worth noting it also doesn't have any depth, but none of the three things we're discussing have any depth. Now, when we name a point, we do so with a capital letter, uppercase. Okay, so for instance, here's a picture of a point. It would be named with a capital letter, so we would refer to that location as point A. Notice that this is a capital letter. If you put point and then a little a, that is an incorrect answer and will be marked as such. So points are locations in space. They do not have length or width, and we name them using capital letters. Alright, so that brings us to the two-dimensional undefined term, which is a line. A line is an infinitely long set of points which extends infinitely in one dimension. It has infinite length and no width, no depth. Now, when we name a line, there's a couple of ways that we can do that. We can either use a lowercase cursive letter, or we can name 2 points on that line. So here we have a picture of a line, see it here, that has 3 points on it, A, B, C. Notice the cursive L. So we could name this line L, which would be the lowercase cursive letter option. We could also use the word line and then any 2 points on the line, so for instance line AB, or we could use the official geometry notation, which is the name of 2 points on the line, such as A and B, with the line symbol. This is the line symbol above it. Notice you could also name this BC, you could name it AC, or you could reverse the order of any of these. So BA, CB, or CA, those are all the same line. Please note that through any 2 points, there exists exactly one line, which means that all of these are the same line. They're all this line right here, which contains points A, B, and C. Alright, that brings us to planes. So our third and final undefined term is plane. A plane is a flat surface made up of points which extends infinitely in 2 dimensions. So what we're talking about here is that we have infinite length infinite width but no depth. And this makes this extremely difficult for students because they have a hard time imagining that. So what you should do is you should look at the floor of whatever room that you're in and imagine that instead of ending at the walls, that floor just went on forever in all 4 directions. That would be a plane. Okay, so when it comes to naming a plane, there are again a couple of ways that we can do that. The first way that we can do that is with a capital or uppercase cursive letter. Sometimes that's done with a bold letter, or by naming 3 points on the plane that are not on the same line. It's worth noting that they cannot be on the same line. If the 3 points are on the same line, that does not name one plane, that names an infinite number of planes, and we will get back to that later on. So here we have an example. Notice that we draw a parallelogram shape to represent a plane when we try to draw one. Keep in mind that these black lines around the outside wouldn't actually be there. It's just indicating that it's a flat surface. So imagine like a piece of paper that goes on forever. Alright, so A, B, C, and D are points on that plane. And M, this cursive M in the corner, is one way to name it. So we could say plane M using that cursive uppercase letter. We could also use the word plane and then 3 of these 4 points because they are not on the same line, such as A, B, C. We could also say plane, and we could use 3 different ones. They don't have to be in alphabetical order. They just can't be on the same line. And on occasion you will even see, and I don't like this notation because it's used again later in the book for parallelograms, but sometimes they'll draw a little miniature plane like that, and then they'll write down 3 of the letters again. So I really don't want you to use that notation. I want you to write the word plane and then give me 3 points that are not on the same line. Now those are not the only ways to name this plane. There's actually a bunch of other ones we could a bunch of other orders, a bunch of other combinations of 3 points that we could use, but those are some examples of how to name that plane. That does it for the first video on the playlist. There will be one more in this section.